So welcome back. A little bit of a different upload day for the last episode. I'm trying something different, but we're now here. We're now going to get all the hardware and everything installed. I'm going to start from the headstock end and work my way down because I want to get the holes for the pickups done last. Once everything's together, we're going to be taking the base inside because the last thing I want to do, I want to make something for this. Now you may be wondering what I'm making considering the pickguard's done and everything else is done. I removed the original Encore logo from the headstock when I took the original finish off. Now, before I took it off, I made a copy of the logo onto a piece of masking tape. The plan with that is, I'm going to make myself a logo out of this leftover English walnut from the Legend of Zelda Hylian Shield build. I'm going to try and cut it out and I'm going to stain it black so then it'll tie into all the hardware. But at the minute this piece of wood is a bit thick, so I'm going to have to do some surface routing. I'm going to have to cut it with hand tools, and it's a process all unto itself, which is why I got left out of the last video. Anyway, that's enough of me talking. I'm going to get all the hardware done. We're going to start with the machine heads. Okay then, now the machine heads are in, the nut is glued in and the truss rod cover is on. We're going to get everything installed into this pickguard, so we need to bust out the PJ set. This actually comes with everything you need for a completely solderless install, and with this being a base, we don't have a switch. So what I'm going to work on first, I'm going to work on getting the output in. Now I did drop the washers quite a few times here, but once I was happy with that I can move on to getting the solid shaft volume tone controls. Speaking of washers though, I do actually use the additional washer that comes with these. I've only ever used one, but I noticed that when I put the control knobs on, they were protruding out quite badly. So what I did, I put the additional washer in, and then this brought the control a little bit further down, which means when I put the control knobs on, they're going to be lovely and flush with the rest of the body. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to get these individual bridge saddles installed, and then I can move on to getting the pickup height adjustment screws on, and then I can get the rest of the wiring done. So I'll pick this up very shortly. Alright then, now that those control knobs are lovely and flush, we're going to get the height adjustment screws done for the J pickup first. Quite simply, find the right width drill bit, go through the holes that are already on the pickup. You only have to go down a little bit because the screws themselves are self-tapping, so as long as you're careful, you won't strip the head, and I use that to hold everything in place to do the remaining 3 holes. Next thing I do, I decide to get the pickup wire in, and this is kind of where I meet my first snag at this point. That hole is a little bit too high up, and as you'll see, I have to really press down to get the pickup to sit flush. So what I've done is I've pressed down on that wire, and all the way through doing this, it just was nagging on me. So after I got this last screw in, I just decided to take it out, and I'm going to look at it off camera, because in the moment I didn't get a chance to look at it, because I want to move on and get the P pickup done, but before that I got a little bit of foam cut to help with the height adjustment. So the beauty part about the Crimson template for the P pickup, not only does it have the center line for everything, it has a center line for your screw holes. So I got everything secured down on the pickguard just with a couple of screws, and then used that center line for the screws to get the first one done on the bottom part of the pickup, which meant again I could use the self-tapping screw to hold that in place. And now that I've got this first one done, I don't need to worry about using the template again because everything's going to line up beautifully now. Once I've got these holes done, I'm going to have to go and look at that pickup wire because I just have that bad feeling that something's gone wrong with it. Alright then, so we did have a casualty. I did damage the wire when I pressed down on the pickup, so I have had to go through and re-drill the hole a little bit further down, and thankfully I have spare wires, so it's not the end of the world. I'm a little bit annoyed that there's a little bit of the natural wood showing, but hey, these things happen. So what we're going to do, we're going to use the wiring diagram that requires 2 volumes, so bridge volume, neck volume, and a master tone. And the funny thing is I didn't realise how short this wire is going to be, but we'll get onto that in a second. Something cool that I realised that I didn't know about on the P pickup is they're actually labelled for your EADG side. So when it said on the wiring diagram, the daisy chain into the EA pickup, I'm like, what are you on about? So then I figured it out, and I was actually really amazed by that. Now after figuring out getting the foam in so that I didn't screw into the wire, where I realised how long the pickup wire is for the J, the P pickup as opposed to the J. So that's where I was like, okay, let's get these wires switched. Which thankfully with the EMG Quick Connect system, it is a very easy job. Would have been a lot easier if I didn't get that hole wrong, but anyway, I digress. Actually having to switch these around did make it a lot easier to make sure that I'm not going to be running those screws through any of the wires, considering that I've already damaged one of them. But yeah, now that these are a lot longer and I can actually get everything in, we're going to start doing all the wiring for the volume controls first. So basically you take the 2-pin connector, put it into the middle terminal on each volume, and then you take another quick connect cable and you daisy chain your volumes together. Then you take a quick connect cable, pop it on your tone, and then you take the other wire that is for your output into the last terminal on the tone control and then onto your output. Then obviously if you already do your battery one, which I made my life so difficult with this one, but then those 3 red wires that you have, you just pop it into this power bus and then you can get everything secured down. Now, anybody that has experience with doing wiring for a pickguard knows how awkward this could be. This was actually a lot longer process, but I didn't want you guys to see me fail constantly. So yeah, so I managed to get it in pretty easy. So I'm happy and I'm confident with everything, so I'm going to secure everything down. But thankfully I have screwdrivers inside, just in case I need to rip this apart and start again. Now, here's a nice thing about that battery cavity. That is just perfect. It fits so flush and it is so nice. Anyway, I did have an issue with these strap buttons, but that's something that I'm going to deal with on a later date, because for a little bit I'm probably going to be sat down playing this bass. But anyway, let's take this inside and get a tap test done. Alright then, so it's all back in from outside. As I say, thankfully I have a spare wire for the bridge pickup. Everything's installed, as always is with a pickguard. So awkward to get all the wires in and finesse it, but it's done. Everything is in. So, we're going to do a tap test now. So, I don't actually have a bass amp, so I'm just running this for the tap test purposes through my Line 6 Spider 4, which is at the moment I have it on a distorted setting. So I've changed the threshold on the gate to 0 just to see what happens. But as you can possibly hear, so I'm getting a signal from that. So in theory, if I plug this in, it should be absolutely nothing. Yeah. So I'm getting nothing through the amp, which is a good sign. It shows that all the shielding and everything goes along with EMG pickups is working and nothing's grounded out. So, both pickups, everything's on full volume. Cool. So, if we do tap on this. Now that does cut out really quick, but that's because of not having my my amp on the right volume. So when you turn it up, you will be able to hear the true volume go down. But that is the volume completely off, and on the bridge pickup's active. There we go. Cool, and then we'll try the tone. Yep, tone works. That's on full. Well, there we go, that's tap test done. So I now need to pop back in the shed because we now have the Encore logo to make to finish this bad boy off. Alright then, so tap test is done, everything works nicely, I'm happy. Next job, we need to get this piece of English walnut reduced down. So, way I've got this set up, this is secured by masking tape, super glue, and some accelerator to hold it all together. So this does not move, I move my bench more than anything. My ghetto ass made router base extension, so it's mainly for the height because of how thin this is. And then these side pieces just to raise it up a little bit more so that I've got a bit of control and I can go wider distances. The bit I'm using is just a straight cutting bit. I do have a surface routing bit, but it just doesn't go down far enough. I could leave it sticking out of the router, but I just have that fear that it's going to fly out on me. So yeah, we're going to cut it down. I think I'm going to go about halfway, but even though it is really hot today, I still need to put my safety gear on, so let's get these popped on, get the surface routed down. Oh, the joys of recording this solo. Did not realise until after I'd done this entire process that this footage was blurry. I do apologise for this. Not much I can really do about it right now, but what I'm doing is I'm just going over the entire piece of English walnut to reduce the thickness down. I want to go about halfway, as I said before, so that is going to be about 2.5mm. The pickguard material itself is 2mm thick, so this is only going to be slightly bigger than what that is, but that's going to be perfect, so that means that it's not going to affect too thin in strings when I put them through. I apologise for how blurry this footage is. Once I've got this all down, I'm just going to check the thickness of it, and then I can go back inside and make sure that my theory is correct, that when I put the strings on, everything's going to line up fine. Okay, this is taking quite a while, and with how hot it is, my phones are going to start to overheat, so I don't want to risk that and lose one of my cameras. So we're going to pick this up when I get a little bit closer towards the end, so I'll talk to you soon. Taking everything off. It's not perfect. I mean, if you compare it to the original that's on the screen about here, yeah, it needs a little bit more finessing, but I don't want to mess with it too much because I have a bad feeling I'm going to mess it up. So I'm just going to try and sand it a little bit more. Did break halfway through, so that's going to be fun. But yeah, I'm just going to try and sand it and finesse it a little bit better. Right, so for some weird reason I cut my lock button. So there we have it. Now a little bit of paint stains come away, but I quite like how that looks. It's not perfect by any standard, but it's the best that I can do without all that lot that I have available to me. Now tells me that I need to get some thinner files. I'm just going to let this stain dry a little bit more, and then I'm going to go and actually attach it to the base. You can see on the back there, that's where it broke on me, so you can see where the stain's not taken. Same thing up there as well. But anyway, let's let this dry, let's take it inside and get it attached to the base. So here is the Encore logo now, so it looks pretty good. I'm quite happy with this. I've been trying to figure out the best way to attach it to the headstock, so I was contemplating putting some like locating pins on the back, but I don't think that would really work with how thin it is, and especially with how it broke on the back. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to very carefully use some super glue and some activator spray, because to be brutally honest, that is pretty much the exact same way I attached those from the Legend of Zelda build. So it was just done with super glue, so I know it'll work, but the activator is just to make it a little bit quicker. I'm going to try and be out of your view as much as I can, but obviously it might be a little bit difficult. Also, many of you noticed I cannot get the cap off of this because it's just stuck in, so safest option is just to use a pencil to lay it on there. Okay, that actually went pretty well. I'm going to bring you in a lot closer. Let me just get you to a relatively normal zoom angle. So, there we have it. So that is basically where the original logo was. So I'm quite happy with that. And as I say, with the matte colour on it, it kind of ties into that. That's why I didn't want to add any finishing oil. If you look at the height, when the strings come on here, it'll be absolutely fine. Anyway, that's enough of that. Right, so this part of the project is now done. We are getting on to the setup, and the base is almost finished. I cannot wait to see what this is going to look like. As always, in the description is a link for all my socials, so follow, like, all that fun stuff. In there as well is the affiliate link for Crimson Guitars, because this has been stained and finished with all Crimson products. And yeah, I think next episode is going to be finally putting the strings on there, but I did notice something on that headstock when I was looking at the side view. If you noticed it as well as I did, let me know in the comments, because I'm probably going to need another part of this. Anyway, see you soon.